everyone, and welcome back to the Nutty Networkers October podcast. Today we will be discussing pandemics. As you all know, we're amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm sure all of you are very educated in that, so we'll be discussing some historical pandemics that happened, and then how this current pandemic has been affecting our lives. So, Anna, why don't you tell me a little bit about what you researched?
So I researched the pandemic of 1918, or as most people know it as the Spanish flu. A lot happened during those 2 years that the pandemic was active.
Yeah.
Lots happened. The countries, I'd say, handled it relatively well. Everybody was affected from Europe to Greenland. It was really bad.
That sounds
Greenland?
like Greenland.
That sounds like what we're going through.
Yeah.
A lot happened.
What were the symptoms of the Spanish flu?
The symptoms, they don't sound bad, but they end up being really bad. When you first get the flu, it's a headache, tiredness, dry cough, loss of appetite, and stomach problems, which that can be really vague. So that causes a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we're going through right now.
Just a little bit. And then that's just on a first day. So you're like, it might be nothing, might be something. But on the second day, you are sweating a lot, your respiratory organs start to fail, and
that went from 0 to 60.
And you could get pneumonia.
Oh.
Okay.
So you could die within a week, and it's most likely from the respiratory failure or the pneumonia.
Yeah, well, breathing is kind of important.
Just a little bit. Just a little important, yeah.
So how was this Spanish flu treated?
It wasn't, actually. It kind of just faded away.
Oh, really?
There was a first wave, and then there was a second wave, and after the second wave, it all kind of just disappeared.
Sounds a lot like COVID.
Yeah.
There's going to be lots of waves, and because was it a virus? Flus are viruses, right?
I don't know.
I didn't look at that.
It's the influenza virus. So, you can't really treat it, right? Isn't that how viruses work?
Yeah.
I should know this.
Well,
There's no medicine.
They go into your cells and they just take over, and the only way to fight them is to create antibodies. So.
And with a vaccine and stuff, but I don't think they had vaccines back then.
So, what was the casualty count?
It was really high. When you're reading it, it kind of makes me sad. They estimated that 500 million were infected, and anywhere from 20 million to 50 million died. Now that is very vague too, because the documentation was terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
It was all over the place. So some suspect that even more than 50 million could have died.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and was there anything where, like, if you did survive, you were left with other complications? Or was it kind of you get it and then you have those symptoms and it's over?
I didn't find that after you survived the flu that there weren't any long-lasting complications. It seems like you got it, you went through it, it was really bad, and then you're done.
Right.
So
that's a little positive, I guess.
A little comforting.
Yeah. And so did it affect society in any ways?
Oh, majorly. The aftermath of the virus was really bad because it was the beginning of World War I too, and it was World War I when it started, and the workers were getting sick. School children, teachers were getting sick. So the restart after it was really hard because still a lot of the workers were sick or out of it and they couldn't come back to work.
Oh, yeah, that would have a big effect in society.
So it definitely took a toll.
Yeah. What about you, Jacob? What pandemic did you become an expert in?
Well, I was researching the Black Plague, which probably the most well-known out of the older ones, I'd say, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
So,
The countries affected would be from all the way from Western Asia to Europe and North Africa.
oh wow.
Really?
So it's quite the area.
Because we think of it only as like Europe
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
Mediterranean and
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's like Russia to like all the way to like Scotland and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
it's pretty big.
Wow.
And what were the symptoms? How did you know you had the Black Death?
Well, there's 3 different viruses that go with it. There's the bubonic,
Okay.
pneumonic, and septicemic. So with the bubonic, it'd be a fever between 38 and 41 degrees Celsius.
That's pretty high.
Headaches, aching joints, nausea and vomiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, more like common symptoms, kind
Yeah,
of, right? Like, and that's the thing that I'm finding in common with all of these is
Yeah.
like, oh, a headache. Oh, well, I had a headache today.
Yeah.
Am I
Well,
gonna die
yeah.
of the Black Death?
Maybe that's like why they spread so much, because they're just so like
Yeah.
generic symptoms.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then with the bubonic again, you can get boils and stuff on your skin.
Oh.
Oh,
That's not normal.
Then your skin cells on some of your places in your body, they turn black and die.
okay.
That's
Black Death.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Then with the pneumonic, just fever, cough. When you spit saliva and mucus, there's blood in it.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Fun.
And then septicemic, it's the least common form, fevers and purple skin patches.
Ugh.
And if you had the septicemic, that's
Yeah.
100% chance of death with that one.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Just with purple blotches on your skin.
Yes.
Yeah, and you think, oh, purple blotches, but like if you have a bruise,
Exactly. That's
You
what I
never
was
know.
thinking.
you never
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So kind
I
of
get random
scary.
bruises everywhere. Anyways.
Exactly. So, how long did this last?
Oh, geez, there's different waves. Most common one was 1540 something.
Okay.
It was 15. It is in the 1500s mainly. Check here. Yeah, sorry. Start date was 1346.
Okay.
That's
Oh.
the start of the first
The first wave.
major wave.
Yeah.
And it ended in the major end was in the 1500s. I'm pretty
So,
sure.
wow, lasted a really long
Yeah.
time.
Wow.
Like you think 2 years is long
Yeah.
until you
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah.
And then there were still cases in 1925 and
yeah.
in the 70s as well.
Oh,
But
wow.
way less common though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, what caused it to end after like 300 years or however long
Yeah,
that
well,
was?
it was our immune systems getting
Oh,
good
okay.
fighting it.
Yeah, building those
It was
antibodies.
evolved antibodies.
Uh huh. Interesting.
So, how was this treated?
Well, not very smartly. See, you rub onions, herb, or chopped up snake on boils, or cutting up a pigeon and rubbing it on your infected body.
Oh, that
A-
sounds
a
really
pigeon.
safe. Just take this
Lovely.
pigeon with all its diseases and
Yeah.
just spread it into
That is
me.
only one. Another one could be eating crushed up minerals, arsenic, and mercury,
Arsenic.
or
Huh.
10-year-old treacle.
Okay.
Isn't that like molasses?
It's kind of, yeah.
And 10 years old with like its mold and
Yeah.
bleh.
Yeah.
They were very smart.
Delicious.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, this was a very superstitious age,
Yeah.
so
But
Yeah.
after a couple of waves, though, they got smarter. Doctors learned that to help the patient recover, you had to burst the boils in your skin and stuff.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was in 1361 and 1365. They learned that.
okay, that's good. So they did get smarter.
Yes.
I hope they
Thankfully.
did.
So how did it affect society after, during, after?
Well, during and after, big time. It affected the trade suffered majorly because trading was really big back
Oh,
then.
yeah,
by
yeah.
ships.
The Silk Road.
The wars were abandoned during the plague.
So, slightly positive spin,
Yeah,
I guess.
Exactly. Laborers died, which the families that caused some of them to starve because that was their
Oh.
farmers
Oh,
and they
yeah.
worked with animals and crops because that can have like the noble in your of the house and you have the workers that
Yeah.
were, I guess back then also slaves as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, crazy. It's so interesting to think. Like, you think, oh, a virus, you think science, but
Yeah,
it's
we-
interesting to
Yeah.
study,
Did
like,
not-
the,
Like
science back then.
even before science, it's kind
even
of like,
before science,
how can we fix this with the very
limited
yeah.
knowledge we have.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
What did you study, Joe?
I studied, so it was 100 years before Anna's pandemic, and it was the 1817 cholera pandemic, also known as Asiatic cholera.
Okay.
So it started in Calcutta, which is in India, and it spread to South and Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Eastern Africa, and even all the way to the Mediterranean coast.
That's a long ways.
Yeah.
That is quite a ways.
And, like, you think, like, now the world seems so small because you can just pop on an airplane and be in Europe. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like, that had to go.
But even like how
A
it
long
spreads,
way.
it spreads through feces infected water.
Oh.
So if you brought your water along all the way from India, all the way to like Greece, for example, that would be a long time. So that's why it spread so far because of the ships. And the ships were infected, and there's water everywhere, of course, on a ship because it's the ocean.
No, it's on land.
There's water on ships.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big part of it was ships as well as British soldiers. So that was while I have to think back to my social studies lessons. While India was a British company
Yes.
still,
Uh-huh.
so there were British soldiers everywhere, and the British Commonwealth was basically everywhere in the
Yeah.
world back then. So yeah, they just brought it everywhere. So
That's
that's
crazy.
why it helped spread.
Yeah, so how would I know if I had cholera?
Okay, well it's you would know. So actually, 80% of the cases are asymptomatic, so you have no idea you have it.
Oh.
Which means you wouldn't necessarily die from it, but you would pass it on to others.
And that's probably how it spread so far. Is
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
you feel fine, but then I go to Jacob, and then he dies from it.
It's the
Because-
same with the Spanish flu though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's normal symptoms.
Yeah, and COVID-19, like you could be asymptomatic, which is why
Mhm.
self-isolation is so important, right?
Yeah, and cholera is more of a bacteria, so it doesn't this bacteria cell itself doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
It's the symptoms that it causes which kills you, which would include, well, so 20% of the cases had symptoms, which would include severe diarrhea, vomiting, and leg cramps in your legs, of all places.
Okay.
So they weren't that bad, but they caused dehydration, septic shock, and death within even 8 hours
Oh, wow.
after getting the...
But yeah,
Amazing.
again, the symptoms are so generic,
Generic.
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, you have a bad case of diarrhea. Oh, what did I eat?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And then all of a sudden, 8 hours you're dead.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you think about like the sanitary conditions, like on ships,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
have plumbing.
No.
You can't
It
just
is not
quietly
fun.
take care of your business, and then you infect the whole ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
How about you?
So, and how many people died or suffered from it?
It was estimated 8.7 million deaths within
Holy-
the...
Oh wow.
How long was it for? Doing some mental math. 7 years. So that's about 1 million, just over 1 million deaths a year.
That's crazy. And if you think of the world population from then, right? That's
And that was,
significant.
that's a lot of people.
That's a significant amount of people now.
Yeah,
But back then, holy moly.
yeah.
So how was it treated? Was it treated with pigeons and onions?
Well, with the bacteria, because it's a bacteria, it could technically be treated with medicine instead of having to build antibodies. But it was just such a fast killer that they didn't really try to treat it, even just because you could treat the symptoms. So you could find treatments for diarrhea and vomiting and leg cramps.
Right.
But you couldn't, and they barely even tried because it would kill within a day.
That's crazy to think that they would just
Yeah.
act like that.
And to not know if you actually have
Yeah.
cholera is the real.
Yeah, that's a stressor.
Yeah, you wouldn't even die from it because you wouldn't get the symptom, which caused death.
Right.
But it's, you still pass it on.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this actually. So what was the aftermath, the societal aftermath?
There were some big aftershocks, mostly racism and xenophobia. So it was an anti-Asian sentiment afterwards because South Asia was to blame for the cholera pandemic, and it was all because the Hindu pilgrimages and they're cursed and whoever blew up all the stereotypes and stuff. So yeah, there was a lot of
Interesting.
anti-Asian racism.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Especially it's
Yeah.
like they didn't create it. Like they
Yeah.
were like
Yeah.
more and I'm sure Asia also suffered.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right? So then that's the thing, like with this COVID-19, it's like, oh, China created it, but it's like, well, China suffered greatly too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think they intended for this to happen.
Yeah.
Anyways.
How
Yeah.
about you?
So I gave myself a challenge. So I decided to go to the first pandemic ever recorded. Now, this is not the first pandemic ever because the world has been around for a really long time.
Yep.
And this is just the recorded one. So in 1430 BC, it was the Athenian pandemic. So I Googled this and I have watched YouTube videos. I cannot pronounce this. Can you pronounce this?
Peloponnesian?
The Peloponnesian War. We're going to go with that.
Yes.
So it was the second year of the Peloponnesian War, and which was a war between the Athenians and the Spartans and a few other people. So it started in Libya and Ethiopia and Egypt, and then it spread to the Athenians and the Spartans, and then just in that that Greek, Mediterranean, Persian area, just
So it wasn't
Europe.
that
It wasn't
big of a
well.
It wasn't
land
widespread.
area.
Yeah,
all the
but-
statistics, but that's their world.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. If you think of this is 1430 BC.
Yeah.
That's
That is
the
their
world.
bubble.
Yeah.
That's the
Bubble.
whole world,
And
basically.
You said it's not big, but 2/3 of the population is estimated to die.
Yeah.
And now, again, this is the first one ever recorded, so my facts aren't exact. I can't tell you
Yeah.
exactly how many people died, but that's estimated. So, and this is one of the ones where, if you had it, you were pretty sure you had it. So there's fever, thirst, which is pretty known, but this
Yeah.
thirst, it's a crazy. No matter how much water you drink,
It doesn't end.
It
Wow.
doesn't end.
That's
So as soon as you get that, you should know something
it's
is wrong.
almost like a mental thing too.
Yeah.
You just never have enough water.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is what it sounds like. I don't know because I wasn't
You weren't
there back
alive.
then.
Yeah. And then you had a bloody throat and a bloody tongue. So that
Interesting.
Okay then.
So then on top of being so thirsty, your throat is bleeding, and then you'd get red skin and lesions. And so
That sounds
I'm putting
like
this on the internet, so I want to make sure this is as clear as
it
possible.
sounds like symptoms that are all across the map.
Yeah, no,
like-
it's crazy.
Affect every
So,
single part of you.
Some
Yeah.
sources suspect it to be typhoid.
Typhoid?
Typhoid. It's hard to speak with a mask on. Fever, but that has not been proven, so we don't know for sure. That's
Yeah.
just what it's
Yeah.
suspected to be.
Mhm.
And this was actually a really significant factor in the Athenians being defeated by the Spartans, because if you're dead,
You can't
you
fight.
can't fight.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So usually it lasted for about a week to 9 days, so 7 to 9 days. So again, it was a fast. What was yours? Lasted 8 hours.
Yeah.
So again, it's a fast killer.
Well, you would die within 8 hours. You could have the symptoms,
Right.
mild symptoms, for a week or so, I think
Right.
it said.
And that's the thing, right? Like, you're like, oh, I just have some diarrhea, but
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you wake up dead. Or I guess you
You
wouldn't
wake
wake
up.
up.
Wake up dead.
You just die one
Yeah.
day, which is so scary.
Yeah, you're like, am I gonna wake up to see tomorrow?
It got really depressing. Okay, no.
Let's continue on with
This
more
is-
depressing things.
This is the thing. So if you lived from this, you would have a disfigurement of your genitalia, your fingers of your toes. You'd be blind. You'd have memory loss,
Huh.
and you wouldn't have. If your fingers and toes weren't disformed, they'd fallen off because they were dead.
So, a
Interesting.
bloody throat and tongue causes your fingers to fall off.
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things where it's so gruesome yet so fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
Like,
like,
how does that happen?
did they
Yeah.
make this all up? It's just so
Yeah.
fantastical.
And it's one of those things where like a virus will get into your body and then the cell destroys itself, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like, yeah, if it's in my little pinky finger and then my pinky finger destroys itself, it's gonna fall off.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It
And
sounds so painful.
Yeah.
Like, it hurts.
And like, not even physically painful, but like mentally painful.
Yeah.
Just seeing your hand rot before your own very eyes.
and then it's
Wait,
almost
Wait, but
like
you're blind. So.
But you're blind. So
No,
yes.
you can't really do that.
I
And then
guess
it's
so.
like, and then it's one of those things where it's like, yes, you survived, but would have been better
Yeah.
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 to
You're-
pass on.
Because you're blind and you've basically lost your sense of feel.
You're blind.
Yeah.
You don't have fingers and toes. You can't remember
Yeah.
anything.
It's been
Maybe
weird.
that's a good thing, though.
Maybe it's a good thing,
Maybe.
but then all of a sudden you're a burden on society.
Mhm.
True.
Yeah, and
Right?
like, how did that affect the rest of society with
Right.
everyone being blind and
Like you already lost 2/3 of your population. Now you
Yeah.
have a bunch of blind people,
And you have to still rebuild.
and you have to rebuild. You just came out of a war.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, like with the disfigurement of genitalia, like that would have affected the population, like
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
future
the population would have
generations.
dropped even more?
And then how are you supposed to walk without toes?
Yeah.
Like you need those.
It's crazy that
Yeah.
that Athens is still standing after that.
Yeah, no, this is crazy. And it was in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you didn't die from this,
Yeah.
you died in the war, or you had to live with these symptoms.
Yeah.
Or you had
and you
PTSD.
were a prisoner of war. So there's no
There's no
good
winning.
side.
Yeah.
So then there was, okay, again, it's going on the internet. I don't know if this is fact. It was suspected that it spread through the poisoning of wells.
Ooh,
So-
strategy.
So in this war, they were like, oh, I'm going to go poison your well. And then it
Yeah.
just spread and it spread and it spread and it got
Yeah.
out of control.
Interesting.
Now, is that true or not?
We will never know.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it's a good strategy, but then it backfired because
On
everybody
you.
died.
They
anyways.
didn't
Yeah.
quite think all the way ahead.
Yeah,
It was
and
a good start.
it was a
Well,
good
yeah,
start.
and maybe they didn't think all the way ahead because they had no idea what.
what effect it would
Yeah,
have.
Yeah. But what my question is, like, did they just like get someone to spit in a tube, just throw the
Or
tube
like
in
just
the well?
throw
Yeah.
them in the
or
well.
just throw the
Yeah.
dead person? Like,
Wow.
so that's what's how it's suspected it was spread.
Like I've heard of salting your land for your crops before fleeing from a fight. I don't know when they
Yeah.
did that, but I've heard that that's been a strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
But like this is crazy.
This is crazy. Like this totally. If this was a strategy, this was a bad strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good at first, but then starts going downhill really quickly.
But then suddenly you're the one who is dying, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, maybe I should have thought this through. Just maybe
Yeah.
a
Just
little
maybe
bit
I
further.
should have like thought about
Yeah. Just
this
a little
before I
while
killed-
longer.
killed everyone.
yeah.
And so I don't want to say this is funny because it's not funny. It's absolutely horrendous. But there's no treatment because all the doctors died.
Yeah. That'll
It's
do
so funny, but once you think
And
about
once
it
you
more,
think
it's
about it,
really
yeah.
depressing.
Like the doctors were the first to go because what happened was you'd have doctors on the war front,
Yeah.
and then
Oh.
Yeah.
it's
Oh.
kind of like fixing up your men so that you
Yeah.
can keep fighting,
Exactly,
keep fighting. And then all of a sudden they have a symptom, and you're fatigued, you're drained, you're not eating very well,
Yeah.
you're sleeping on the ground somewhere, and all of a sudden you get this, and
Yeah.
then you can't. You're so thirsty, and then you get lesions, and then all of a sudden you're dead.
And then even if you did survive and you were a doctor, you can't do anything. You lost your sense of, you lost
You
the
lost your
sight
fingers.
and your fingers, and you can't even stand.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it was a very devastating, very very devastating.
And I think even with Anna's too, it's crazy how much a war going on,
Yeah.
especially a world war,
Yeah.
Yeah.
can just blow things up
So
much.
exponentially.
And
Yeah.
and that's
Like-
how it spread.
Yeah.
People coming home from fighting
Uh-huh.
brought it to the Americas.
And even prisoners of war as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Let me hug you, family. I haven't seen you in so long." And
Yeah.
then they're all dead.
It's so gruesome, but it's so true.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, well, I could just imagine you're a soldier. You're like, oh yeah, it's normal for me to be thirsty,
Yeah.
and then
and
like
fatigued and
fatigued and have red skin and whatever, and then
sunburn, and I've been eating not too well, so I might have diarrhea too, and just
Yeah.
but then you're dead.
and then you're dead. Or even if you recover, like not from this, but like you said, yours if you recover, you're kind of mostly fine.
Yeah.
But how many people can you infect?
Exactly.
Especially with yours, with 80% of the population didn't even know they had it.
Mhm.
Exactly. And
Speaking of thirsty, masks suck.
Yeah.
But we have to wear them
We do.
because COVID-19.
Yeah, and even I'm not sure if I touched on this, but I couldn't really find any physical medical after effects from cholera.
Right.
Maybe I just didn't research enough, or maybe it got killed off by the especially cold winter in, let me look at my notes,
Oh, interesting.
whatever
That would've
year it
been-
was. I forget the year. It's on me somewhere. Give me 2 seconds.
Or
1823 to 1824.
okay, so
So
super
finally
cold
got-
winter.
Yeah, it finally got killed off. But like, how long would it have gone on?
That's
What?
you said 7 years, right?
Yeah, it did go on for 7 years before it was finally killed off.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like you can't estimate. Like
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
try and look at history to predict the future,
Yeah.
but like
But
yours
it's
lasted
everywhere.
2 years.
yeah.
Mine lasted a little. I don't know. I didn't know how long it lasted. I think it lasted quite a while. Yours lasted
Hundreds of
over
years.
hundreds of
Hundreds.
years.
yeah, and mine
Yeah.
lasted 7 years.
So we can't even like predict the future.
And-
And
But, like-
it's a new virus every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even Esther's doctors were definitely different from Jacob's doctors.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Anna's
Different
doctors and
Yeah.
my doctors, like they all just
The-
scientific.
And plus, they get better over the years.
yeah,
and
and
they-
scientific
Yeah.
advancements
And, like,
and
We're at such an amazing age where we have so much technology and so much knowledge,
Mhm.
but still there's always going to be an unknown.
yeah,
Always.
What is interesting is for the Spanish flu, it was 100 years ago, and yet they still kind of have the same advice. It's a flu, so it can spread through face contact.
Right.
Yeah.
You touching your face after getting in contact with it. So they would advise to stay away from other people, isolate if you can, wear a mask. New York installed a bylaw or a law that said no spitting on the ground.
that's pretty familiar.
Yeah.
This is really
And
your law.
What's kind of funny is if you spat on the ground, they had Boy Scouts going around all the time, and they're like, "You get a ticket for spitting."
That would be
Here
my
you
job.
go.
Literally, I would be the spit police. I would love
But
that job.
yeah, like all four of us, you can't see because it's a podcast, are wearing masks right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, and all of us feel fine, but we're just you
Yeah,
gotta
it's
take
a
extra
precaution.
precautions.
Yeah.
And then it's not only that, but it's like I go home and I talk to my mom, and then she talks to her mom who has a heart condition,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden it affects her,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right. So we are in the middle of a pandemic, as we all know, COVID-19, coronavirus.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
It can't beat 'em, join 'em. So we don't know enough information on this virus to educate the world on it.
And we don't know enough information on the not viruses, because they weren't all viruses. The past historical pandemics that happened, we're not experts.
We're not experts on
We
them.
just each spent maybe 2 hours on the internet
Yeah.
looking up
And
things that
reading.
happened hundreds
Right.
of years ago.
Yeah, but we looked up those things, but we don't know what's true, what's false.
Yeah,
like, you get so
exactly.
many, like, the age of the internet is amazing.
Is Wikipedia actually reliable?
Yeah. It's like, so,
Depends.
we're not going to talk about COVID-19 because I'm sure everyone knows what the symptoms are.
Yeah.
And it's in the news.
And it's in the
daily.
news, and
By the time this is published, which is a week and a half from now about, something's
Something
definitely
new.
gonna change.
Yeah.
it changes every day. So we are instead are going to talk about our personal experiences in quarantine. So Jacob, what was your favorite part of quarantine, least favorite part, and how do you think that the virus has affected your outlook on life?
Well, best part I guess was what was the best part? That's a good question. I caught up on reading, I guess. Got into more books.
That's good.
yeah.
This might sound antisocial, but did not see people.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice refresh.
Other than my family, yeah. So that was kind of a highlight. What it affected though was my school mark big time. It was all online. I
Yeah.
had to teach myself, especially in math class. That sucked.
Yeah.
I believe it.
What was the other? Oh, outlook on life. Realize it can change in like a second or something, like days. It can just-
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
can change.
Yeah,
everything can
totally.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to live to the fullest, I guess, kind of.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because all of a sudden it wasn't, oh, I can't tell my best friend that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't just go pop over to my grandma's whenever I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
It's kind of like I'm stuck at home
Yeah.
with technology,
Yeah.
which was nice because
Lots
then
of
you can communicate.
FaceTiming,
Yeah,
lots
of
FaceTiming.
Yeah, lots of FaceTiming.
Group chats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Lots of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think the best thing for me was sleeping in.
That too.
It was very nice, and I think my first online class was like at 10 o'clock. So to lots of people, it wasn't technically sleeping in, but
It
to
was
me,
close enough.
anytime past 9:30,
Yeah.
perfect for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the worst part was I'm a very social person. Like I'm a
Really?
what's the word? Extrovert?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm an extrovert. I'm definitely an extrovert. But I think, yeah, and I couldn't see people for 6 months, and it was a 6-month long March break, as I like to
Yeah.
call it. But I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise because it gave us all time to reset
Yeah.
from the
Mhm.
busyness of life. So that was really good.
Mm.
And I think the one takeaway I learned, it's not necessarily a takeaway for me, but it kind of is, but for all of society, it's kind of like almost we've all gotten this review on social etiquette. It's kind of like
Yeah.
because you have to stay 6 feet apart, because you have to wear masks, it kind of makes you want to feel and act more polite towards other people.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think I've seen a lot more people offering to help other people, which I see it's a blessing in disguise because I think that society really needed it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. What about you, Anna? Best part, worst part, what did you learn?
Isolation actually, for me personally, wasn't that bad. I mean, the first part of it was really bad because my mom took us out of school 2 weeks early because she saw this coming and she's like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could easily affect school. So we were taken out of school 2 weeks early and I was like, crap, I love school. Why?
Amazing.
And I do, because I can definitely be an introvert, but I like talking and being around
Yeah.
people, and I'm like, I have friends.
Yeah.
They're all over there, and I'm stuck at home.
Yeah.
So for the first 2-3 weeks, I was like, well, this sucks. And then everything got shut down. And
Yeah.
I had to wait another week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks for school, and during
Yeah.
that time, I'm like, well,
What do I do with
this
myself?
is
What is life?
what now?
Yeah.
After school started up again and my teacher started posting work and stuff, I'm like, okay, I have stuff to keep me busy. I mean, I've had books and I've done things. And then my dad, who works up in Kitimat, got shut down at camp for 5 weeks.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that sucked. So my mom had the wonderful idea of taking 2 very hard days of driving up to Kitimat, 16 hours.
It's a long time.
Long time, especially with my mom, me, my brother, and my 2 dogs.
Yeah, 2 dogs.
You
are
brought
probably
the
too.
dogs.
Yeah,
Fun.
without a bed, because the inflatable bed that we brought had a hole in it.
Oh, of course it did.
From the
So-
dogs.
I have no idea, actually. I think I had a hole in it before, because
Oh, yeah.
we blew it up on the when we stopped, or before we stopped, and we left at around 3 o'clock. It was May, Mother's Day,
Mhm.
and my mom's like, let's go see your dad.
Oh.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
Other
It gives you
than-
an excuse to go up there.
Yeah. So in that way, we traveled a lot. I mean, of course, with masks and social distancing and making sure that we were safe. But we traveled a lot. I was able to do schoolwork. I was kind of able to see people. I got
Yeah.
to see my family. For me, it was not a good experience, but it was an okay experience.
Yeah.
where
That's good.
I got to be an introvert for a little while and not see people, but kind of be an extrovert through video calls.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was okay. The one takeaway I would take from this is you can get through anything. If you
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
look on a positive side and really try hard to get through it and do different things in order to get through it, then I think you can really
Totally.
go through it and come out of it with a better, stronger
Mhm.
personality,
Oh,
heart.
absolutely.
Try.
Yeah.
You?
So I kind of think, probably the best part was I got a reset in my mental thinking because I was very, I'm a very future forward person. I'm always thinking what's happening next week, what's happening next month, what's happening in 5 years, and really building towards that.
Yeah.
And it gave me a moment to look and be like, look at all of these lost opportunities that I've missed out on because I'm so focused on working towards the future
Mhm.
and the like. So that was good for me. I learned my lesson. And so that was nice. Definitely I needed it. Probably the hardest thing was I'm the first to admit I'm not a very social person.
Nope.
But I didn't realize how hard it would be to be without my friends.
Yeah.
And like I love my family, but whew, 6
Yeah.
months with you guys.
Yep.
Wow. Love you too, Esther.
I do love you, but I don't love not only seeing you every day.
being in a house, like you had school to kind of break it up.
Yeah.
8 hours you're gone from the house.
Yeah.
But being in the house from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. every
Every
single
day.
day for
Yeah.
6 months.
I love my family, but like when I was younger, I used to hate Christmas break and spring break because
Yeah.
I was stuck with my family, a whole bunch of rowdy, loud, like I love them. They're so amazing. But after like a week,
After a week, it gets
a
old.
little
And we have
Yeah.
a very large, very loud
very
family.
large,
Mhm.
lots of people in our family, and like 99% of them are guys. So it gets very loud.
And smelly.
Wow.
You're welcome.
So, but then it was kind of like, yeah, family is important still.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I would say so it was hard to not see my friends, but that made me appreciate them all the more.
Yeah.
And my biggest takeaway is definitely like being in the present and focusing on my friends. Like it would like pre-COVID, it was always next weekend, next weekend, next
Yeah.
weekend, next
Mhm.
weekend.
Mhm.
And it's like me and my best friend were like planning this shopping trip for months. And I was always working, and when I had weekend
Yeah.
off, she was working, and working.
Mhm.
And like you respect the hustle, but you gotta live.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
you have a life.
Stop a little bit.
Yeah. And then it was like, and then all of a sudden everything got shut down, and it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
and then I had this moment of why didn't I? Was working so important? Like,
Yeah.
why is working so important to me? So I had that moment, and yeah, like even today, I just sat down with my best friend and we just talked for an hour. And it was really nice because I would text her all the time and I FaceTime her all the time. But it's like, I need to see your face. I need to feel
Yeah.
your energy.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely came out stronger. It was rough. It was hard not to see people.
Yeah.
But, you know, I truly believe with all my heart that as long as you can learn from anything and anything can be positive.
Yeah.
As long as you make it that way. Like you
Yeah.
are in control
Exactly.
of your feelings. So
Yeah.
if you think of a way to make it positive, to be positive.
Now I have a question for everybody.
Uh-oh.
Any new hobbies?
Oh.
Oh man.
So you know how this one's funny. So you know how at the beginning of the school year, they're like, you need 2,000 sheets of loose leaf paper. And
Yeah.
by the end of the school year, you've used it all up, so it's all A-okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Until school goes online.
And
Two-thirds of the way through the year.
Mhm.
And you have
Oh.
500 sheets of paper there. And you're too disorganized or lazy to just save it for next year. So you need to do something with it. So I did origami a lot as a kid.
As
And
a
then-
kid, you're like 15.
When I was like
Younger.
7. And then I kind of just like re-picked it up with all the extra loose leaf paper that I
Yeah.
had.
Don't
That's
save
kinda cool.
it for next year.
Yeah,
use
don't
it,
say
use
that. Use more money for next year.
Yeah.
Like, and then turns out this year is basically paperless too.
Yeah.
So I don't need paper.
But you know, that's a good thing. Like if you think about the environment and how stopping
Yeah.
travel and everything going online has affected the environment, like I said, there's positives in every situation, right?
Yeah.
Personally, I took up two very different hobbies. I took up embroidery
Mm-hmm.
and archery.
Oh,
Archery.
Yeah.
Archery's
Yeah.
I
fun.
almost
that's
picked
fun.
it up.
that's
but
fun.
I couldn't find my bow and arrow.
Yeah, we used to do that a lot
Yeah.
when you were a kid.
When I was a
Back
kid.
in the good old days.
See, I enjoy both because I'm very active, but I can sit and read for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, look at that. A pointy arrow, a blind person, and a bow. What do I do now?
So who
Yes.
taught you like how to shoot a bow and arrow?
Well-
Who taught you how to embroider?
The story behind both these, for archery, I go to Foothills Camp for the Blind,
Okay.
and they do archery there.
Okay.
Oh.
Completely blind people. There's balloons on the target,
Fun.
there's people that help you aim,
Uh-huh.
and there's obviously nobody on the field because
Of
it could
course
end
not.
extremely badly. But yeah, I did it at blind camp with a compound bow, and I'm like, this is cool, but then
Compound bow.
Yeah.
Fancy.
it's a heavy bow,
I
really
know.
heavy bow.
Yeah.
And I come home and I'm like, put it behind me, and then I saw this bow at Walmart. I'm like, let's try this at home.
At Walmart.
Yeah,
Wow.
They have lots of camping stuff, knives, bullets.
yeah. So
Wow.
it was $40, and I was like, Anna, do you want to do archery? And I'm like, why not? Let's go shoot
Sure.
pointy arrows at walls.
Good idea.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And embroidery, my mom does cross stitch,
Okay.
and cross stitch, tiny holes, tiny needle, not fun. So then I'm like, oh, look, embroidery. There's no holes. You can follow any template that you like. So I tried embroidery, and I know
And
how
you're
to
a
make
very
knot.
creative person. You do a lot of
Oh,
art
thank you.
projects, so yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it was two very different activities, but I love them both.
That's awesome. What about you, Jacob?
Well, I got into like writing like stories and stuff a bit.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
I guess we wouldn't call this a hobby, but like lots of marathons I had. I'm a huge nerd. I was marathoning Star Trek.
Nice.
The first series, Next Gen, Discovery, Deep Space Nine, like all of them pretty much, except Voyager. That one sucks.
Yeah.
I rewatched all the Star Wars movies. I just was a nerd pretty much. I
Nice.
watched like Marvel,
Yeah.
like MCU in order of the timeline.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But what else are you gonna do? Like
You're inside.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
So I was just being a nerd. I was reading comic books online and stuff. Got
Yes.
into anime.
Technology.
and
We
manga,
love it.
Yeah.
The one
That's
thing
awesome.
my brother wanted to do, because we're stuck at home for 8 more hours than we usually are, he's like, let's watch all of the Marvel movies in order with my parents.
See,
Nice.
I've only seen 3 Marvel movies overall.
It's
Shame
sad.
on you.
I'm
Yeah.
not a big superhero fan, and I started watching the Star Wars movies near the end of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But
School.
and like our Disney Plus,
We just
this
stopped
is
paying
not
for
a
it.
promotion for Disney Plus, by the way.
Internet.
Our Disney Plus, like, it kicked us out, or I have no idea what happened.
We
but,
probably
like, it doesn't
didn't.
work anymore.
Stupid
Don't we have to pay
technology.
for it monthly?
Oh yeah, that's probably.
We stopped paying for it.
So I'm like in the middle of the 5th one, and I'm like, why? Because it's good. Not necessarily my favorite, but they're actually good.
The 5th, as in like the prequels or the
The
original?
episode 5, the Empire
Oh,
Strikes
okay,
Back. I think.
okay. 'Cause you
Yeah.
never know, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. But Esther, any hobbies you got over the summer thingy 7 weeks that you were up in Peace River?
I did not get any hobbies. I got a new job. I was
You
a
were
junior
too
forest
busy.
ranger. I was too busy, but I made an point to make lots of friends. So I spent a lot of time socializing, social distancing, social distancing. You know what I mean?
Physically distancing
physically-
in social situations.
Yes.
Say trying that 5 times fast. See, I can't even say a simple thing once slowly.
Oh man. Anyways, yeah. No, figuring out FaceTime mostly. Different ways to video call people.
Zoom.
Zoom.
Zoom,
Google
FaceTime,
Meet,
Google Meet,
WhatsApp, Instagram. A lot of FaceTime. people.
Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Instagram. has
Instagram has the
The
Skype.
video call.
Don't forget about Skype, guys.
I've never
Nobody uses
Messenger.
Skype anymore.
Yeah.
Messenger.
Yeah. How old are you?
Line,
Okay.
Facebook. Can't you do it on Facebook?
Oh,
on
boy.
the Facebook these days.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much for listening to the end of our podcast. This was a little bit long, but we had a bunch of important information that we wanted to share with you.
Mhm.
We believe that information is the key to making wise decisions. So the more you're educated, the better decisions you can make. Please stay home, stay safe, wear a mask, social distance. It will all be over one day, I promise. As history has shown us, no matter how long it lasts, it always does end. So,
And be grateful that you don't die within 8 hours of getting
Yeah,
COVID.
no kidding.
Like,
8 hours, 2 days a week.
it could be a lot
Yeah.
worse, is the point. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We will
Bye.
see you guys next
month.
when we are talking about
Another depressing
World War
topic.
II.
We're talking
Because it's
about
Remembrance Day.
World Wars in November. So,
Yeah. Well,
stay tuned.